Imagine you're handed a blank notebook and told, you can write anything you want. Anything will come true. No limits. What would you jot down first? Maybe your dreams, your ideal life, or even a list of goals you've always wanted to pursue. What if I told you this isn't just a game? Living alone gives you this exact opportunity, the freedom to design a life entirely your own. Solitude often gets a bad reputation, seen as something lonely or empty. But here's the truth. Living alone isn't about missing out. It's about mastery. It's a chance to rediscover who you are, build a life of clarity, and unlock a deeper sense of empowerment. As Buddha once taught, you yourself must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. The path to true abundance starts with understanding yourself, and solitude is the perfect place to begin. In this video, we'll dive into how living alone, guided by Buddhist wisdom, can transform your life into one of growth, self-discovery, and fulfillment. Ready to take control of the pen and start designing your best life? Let's explore this journey together. 1. Embracing the challenge. Start the journey of living alone. Beginning the journey of living alone can be like stepping into a large, silent room for the first time. There is no noise from others, no conversation to fill the void. This can feel overwhelming, even scary. However, like any challenge in life, this is an opportunity for you to overcome your initial fear and discover peace within yourself. The Buddha once said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." This quote emphasizes that the journey of living alone is a journey of self-reliance, where no one can replace you in facing the silence and discovering yourself. This challenge is not isolation, but an opportunity for you to step into life with greater responsibility and awareness of yourself. To truly embrace this challenge, you need to change your perspective on silence and solitude. Instead of seeing it as something to avoid, see it as a blank canvas on which you can write your own story. Start by simplifying your thinking. You don't need to fill every moment with action or speech. Now, you have the space to be truly alone, to be there for yourself. As you learn to embrace solitude, you'll find that it's not as scary as you thought. Silence becomes a companion, helping you connect more deeply with yourself and what really matters. You will notice your ability to concentrate improves, your feelings of anxiety lessen, and a sense of peace replaces your daily worries. Furthermore, as you overcome this challenge, you will build inner strength, a strength that is not dependent on other people or circumstances. However, this transformation does not happen overnight. It is a journey that we will take together step by step. And this is the first step on the path to true freedom and happiness, where you are not just living alone, but living a life full of meaning and fulfillment. So, shall we begin? 2. Start confronting loneliness. The first step of the living alone journey is start facing the loneliness. Loneliness is a feeling that many of us fear, yet it's an unavoidable part of the human experience. Instead of running from it or trying to fill the void with distractions, what if we could face it head-on and learn from it? Confronting loneliness is not about denying or suppressing this feeling, but understanding its root causes and transforming it into a tool for growth. In Buddhism, the Dhammapada teaches, just as a tree, though cut down, sprouts up again if its root remains uncut and firm, even so, suffering springs up again and again if its root cause remains. This wisdom highlights the importance of addressing the origins of our suffering, including loneliness, rather than merely trying to eliminate its symptoms. Loneliness often arises not because we are physically alone, but because of unmet expectations or a disconnect between our desires and reality. It is a craving for connection or fulfillment that hasn't been met, leaving us feeling empty. The first step in confronting loneliness is to acknowledge it without judgment. Sit quietly and allow yourself to feel the emotions associated with loneliness. Instead of labeling it as bad, Recognize it as a natural part of life that everyone experiences at some point. One practical way to do this is by practicing mindfulness meditation. Close your eyes, focus on your breath, and observe the sensations and thoughts that arise. Imagine your feelings of loneliness as clouds in the sky, temporary and ever-changing. As you observe them, you'll begin to see that these emotions are not permanent, nor do they define you. When you embrace this practice, you start to develop a deeper connection with yourself. You learn to accept your emotions rather than avoid them, and in doing so, you create space for self-compassion. This shift in perspective allows you to stop seeing loneliness as a punishment and start viewing it as an opportunity for introspection and personal growth. Over time, this practice builds emotional resilience, helping you handle not only loneliness, but other challenges in life with greater ease. By facing it directly, you dismantle the fear that often surrounds it. You begin to understand that loneliness is not something to be feared, but a chance to reconnect with your inner self. As this connection deepens, you may discover hidden strengths and insights about your values, desires, and purpose. Furthermore, this process fosters a sense of independence and self-sufficiency, as you no longer rely solely on external relationships or circumstances for validation and happiness. Ultimately, confronting loneliness is a step towards self-mastery. It transforms what once felt like an insurmountable challenge into a gateway for emotional growth and inner peace. As you embrace loneliness as part of your journey, you'll find that it becomes less about feeling isolated and more about discovering the beauty of your own company. 3. The Art of Self-Sufficiency. The next step of the journey is prepare yourself some skill for self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is a cornerstone of living alone and an essential skill for leading a fulfilling life. It's about taking responsibility for your well-being and finding the confidence to manage your daily needs independently. This practice doesn't mean isolating yourself from others or rejecting help when needed. It's about cultivating the ability to care for yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically. The Buddha's words in Dhammapada resonate deeply here. You yourself must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. This teaching emphasizes the importance of personal effort and self-reliance. While external guidance and support can provide direction, the ultimate responsibility for navigating your life lies with you. In embracing self-sufficiency, you become the creator of your own stability and the architect of your personal growth. The journey to self-sufficiency starts with small, deliberate actions. Begin by identifying areas where you can take charge of your life, such as organizing your space, cooking meals, or managing your finances. For example, instead of relying on takeout, challenge yourself to prepare a simple, nourishing meal. This not only builds a valuable skill, but also fosters a sense of accomplishment and control. Similarly, develop a habit of tracking your expenses, creating a budget, and making thoughtful financial decisions. These practical tasks may seem mundane, but they lay the foundation for a life that feels secure and manageable. Self-sufficiency extends beyond practical skills. It also involves emotional resilience. One way to cultivate this is through self-reflection. Take time to check in with yourself daily, asking, "What do I need today to feel balanced and fulfilled?" By listening to your inner voice and addressing your needs, you nurture your emotional well-being. This practice of self-awareness strengthens your ability to face challenges without feeling overwhelmed or dependent on others for solutions. The benefits of practicing self-sufficiency are transformative. As you gain confidence in your ability to handle life's demands, you'll experience a growing sense of empowerment and freedom. The reliance on external validation or support diminishes, allowing you to focus on your personal goals and aspirations. Furthermore, self-sufficiency fosters self-respect. Each small victory, whether mastering a new recipe or overcoming a financial hurdle, reinforces your belief in your capabilities and builds your inner strength. The art of self-sufficiency is not about striving for perfection or complete independence, but about discovering the balance between relying on yourself and appreciating the interconnectedness of life. It's a journey of growth where every step you take toward managing your life with grace and competence brings you closer to a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace. 4. Feeling the inner peace. As you start know how to self-sufficiency, inner peace will start following you as a reward. Finding inner peace is the heart of living alone and one of the most profound aspects of personal growth. Inner peace is not the absence of problems, but the ability to remain calm and centered amidst the challenges of life. It's about creating a space within yourself that is untouched by external chaos, a sanctuary where you can retreat and recharge. Buddha taught, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." This timeless wisdom emphasizes the power of the mind in shaping our reality. Inner peace begins with our thoughts and the way we perceive the world around us. When we cultivate a calm and steady mind, we can navigate life's ups and downs with grace, instead of being swept away by emotional turmoil. To start feeling inner peace, it's essential to create moments of stillness in your day. A simple yet transformative practice is mindful breathing or meditation, as I have introduced you in the lessons above. Another way to cultivate peace is by practicing gratitude. At the end of each day, reflect on 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is lacking to what is abundant, fostering a sense of contentment. The impact of nurturing inner peace extends beyond moments of meditation or reflection. As you practice these habits consistently, you'll notice that you become less reactive to external pressures and more resilient in challenging situations. Inner peace enhances your ability to make thoughtful decisions because you're no longer driven by fear or frustration. The journey to inner peace is not about achieving perfection, but about embracing progress. Each small step, whether through mindful breathing, gratitude, or simply pausing to appreciate the present moment, brings you closer to a state of harmony. Inner peace is the foundation of a fulfilled life, a treasure that transforms solitude into a powerful experience of self-discovery and serenity. 5. Adapt to grow. At this step of the journey, sure, you have done many things yourself to adapt to live alone. Adaptation is a natural part of life, and it's through adapting that we find growth. Change is inevitable, whether it's a shift in circumstances, relationships, or our own inner world. The key to thriving in solitude is learning to embrace change as an opportunity rather than resisting it as a threat. Adapting to new situations, even uncomfortable ones, is how we expand our perspectives and build resilience. Buddha's teachings in the Dhammapada remind us, everything changes, nothing remains without change. This truth highlights the impermanence of life and the importance of flexibility. Just as a tree bends in the wind to avoid breaking, we too must learn to move with life's changes instead of fighting against them. Resistance to change only creates suffering, while adaptation opens the door to growth and self-discovery. To adapt effectively, begin by cultivating awareness of the present moment. For example, if you feel discomfort during a quiet evening alone, instead of dwelling on what's missing, explore what this quiet can offer, a chance to read, reflect, or try something new. Another helpful practice is to set small, manageable goals that align with the new reality. If solitude feels unfamiliar, you might create a daily routine that includes both comforting habits and opportunities for exploration, like learning a new skill or trying a creative hobby. Over time, these actions help you not only adapt, but thrive in your changing circumstances. As you become more flexible, you'll find yourself feeling less stressed when faced with unexpected changes. Instead of seeing obstacles, you'll recognize possibilities. Adaptation also strengthens your ability to trust yourself. Each time you navigate a new situation, you reinforce the belief that you are capable and resourceful. Ultimately, adaptation is not about losing yourself, but discovering new dimensions of who you are. By embracing change and using it as a catalyst for growth, you transform life's uncertainties into moments of empowerment. It's in adapting that we find the strength to move forward and the wisdom to appreciate the journey. 6. Finding normal life contentment. Contentment in daily life is a treasure often overlooked in the pursuit of bigger goals or external achievements. True contentment isn't about having everything you desire, it's about appreciating what you already have. It's a mindset that allows you to find joy in the simplicity of normal life, whether it's a quiet morning, a meal you've prepared, or a moment of rest after a long day. Learning to cultivate this state of gratitude and acceptance can transform how you experience solitude and daily routines. The Buddha taught, health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, faithfulness the best relationship. This reminds us that the key to contentment lies not in abundance or extravagance, but in finding peace within simplicity. The more we shift our focus away from external validation and material gain, the more we can embrace the inherent beauty and sufficiency of life as it is. To begin fostering contentment, start with the practice of savoring the present moment. When you eat a meal, focus entirely on the flavors and textures. When you take a walk, pay attention to the sounds and sights around you. These mindful moments help you connect with the richness of ordinary experiences. Contentment also involves letting go of constant comparison. In today's world, it's easy to feel inadequate when comparing yourself to others' achievements or lifestyles. Instead, remind yourself that your journey is unique and the value of your life is not defined by external standards. Practicing acceptance of where you are right now fosters a deep sense of satisfaction and peace. The benefits of cultivating contentment in daily life are transformative. Contentment reduces stress and anxiety as it shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. Finding contentment in normal life doesn't mean settling for less. It means seeing and appreciating the abundance that's already around you. 7. Nurturing social connections. Living alone does not mean isolating yourself from the world. On the contrary, it gives you the time and clarity to reevaluate the relationships in your life and nurture those that truly matter. Building meaningful social connections is not about the quantity of people in your life, but the quality of your interactions. Don't fill the void by hanging out with toxic people who drain your energy. Instead, take some time to review your entire social circle. The Buddha emphasized the value of good companions when he said, "A good friend who points out mistakes, imperfections, and rebukes evil is to be respected as if he reveals a secret of hidden treasure." This teaching highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with people who inspire growth, honesty, and positivity. These connections help us see ourselves more clearly and encourage us to be better versions of who we are. To nurture social connections, start by identifying the relationships in your life that bring you joy and support. Spend time with people who uplift you and encourage your growth. This doesn't mean abandoning others, but rather being intentional about where you invest your energy. A simple practice is interacting regularly with those you value, whether it's a phone call, a coffee chat, or a shared activity. Be fully present during these moments, listening actively and expressing gratitude for their presence in your life. Another way to strengthen your connections is by practicing kindness and compassion in your interactions. Small gestures, such as a thoughtful message, an offer of help, or simply showing understanding during difficult times, can deepen the bonds you share with others. As you give freely without expecting anything in return, you create an environment of trust and reciprocity, fostering relationships that feel fulfilling and genuine. As you cultivate bonds based on authenticity and care, you'll find that these connections become a source of emotional support and inspiration. They remind you that you are part of something larger than yourself, countering feelings of isolation. Furthermore, strong relationships improve your mental health, reducing stress and enhancing your sense of purpose and belonging. In doing so, you create a harmonious balance between solitude and connection, embodying the best of both worlds. 8. Spiritual exploration and enlightenment. Spiritual development is one of the biggest rewards of living alone. Living alone offers a unique opportunity for spiritual exploration and a deeper understanding of oneself. It is in solitude that we can truly connect with the deeper truths of existence, free from the distractions and noise of the external world. This journey toward spiritual enlightenment is not about escaping reality, but about diving into the essence of who we are and understanding our place in the universe. The Buddha's path to enlightenment is a profound example of this. As the story goes, before attaining enlightenment, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, left behind his palace and all worldly attachments to find the path of liberation. When he abandoned practicing self-mortification because he knew it did not lead to liberation, 5 monks that supported him also abandoned him. He was all alone, retreating into solitude beneath the Bodhi tree. It was in this stillness, away from distractions, that he gained the clarity and wisdom to understand the nature of suffering and the path to liberation. Same to us. To embark on your own spiritual exploration, start by creating a dedicated space and time for quiet reflection each day. I'm not saying that we have to give up everything like Buddha, but we can start with small steps. You don't need a complex setup. A simple corner of your room with a comfortable seat and minimal distractions will suffice. This sacred space serves as a sanctuary where we can focus and find solace. When you are struggling or feeling lonely, step into that sacred space to find stillness and reconnect with yourself. Just 10 minutes of silence and grounding is enough to restore your mind's balance. Journaling can also help you record your insights and track your spiritual growth. Spiritual exploration can also involve engaging with practices that connect you to a sense of wonder and interconnectedness. Spend time in nature, observe the cycles of life, or study to deepen your understanding of universal truths. These practices encourage you to look beyond daily routines and surface-level concerns, guiding you toward a greater awareness of life's interconnectedness and impermanence. As you deepen your connection to your inner self, you'll discover a sense of peace and purpose that isn't tied to external circumstances. This exploration fosters clarity, helping you see beyond temporary challenges and focus on what truly matters. Spiritual exploration is not about reaching a destination, but about embracing the journey of self-discovery. As you walk this path, you'll find that the solitude of living alone becomes a sacred space for enlightenment, guiding you toward a life of greater depth, balance, and fulfillment. 9. Achieving independence and empowerment. Independence and empowerment is the treasure you will find at the end of the living alone journey. Independence and empowerment are the ultimate rewards of living intentionally and authentically. Achieving independence means not just being self-sufficient in practical matters, but also having the emotional and mental strength to trust your own decisions and navigate life's challenges with confidence. Empowerment is the realization of your inner strength and the ability to take control of your destiny. Together, these qualities allow you to live with purpose, resilience, and unwavering self-belief. The Buddha taught, "Your work is to discover your world, and then with all your heart give yourself to it." This encapsulates the essence of personal freedom. When you discover your world, recognize your own worth, you become less reliant on external validation and more capable of making decisions that honor your values and needs. Empowerment is not about dominating others, but about mastering yourself, finding the courage to live in alignment with your true self. To achieve independence and empowerment, start by taking responsibility for your life. Reflect on areas where you may still rely on others, emotionally, financially, or mentally, and set small, achievable goals to strengthen your self-reliance in those areas. For instance, if you depend on others for emotional support, practice journaling or mindfulness to process your thoughts independently. If financial independence feels out of reach, begin by creating a budget or setting aside a small amount of savings each week. Each step, no matter how small, builds your confidence and sense of control. The benefits of achieving independence and empowerment extend to every aspect of life. As you become more self-reliant, you'll experience a profound sense of freedom, knowing that you have the strength to stand on your own. This freedom fosters a deep confidence, enabling you to approach life with courage and optimism. It also enhances your relationships, as you can engage with others from a place of mutual respect and equality rather than dependence. Independence and empowerment lead to a life of fulfillment and self-assurance. By taking responsibility for your growth, trusting your abilities, and embracing challenges as opportunities, you unlock your full potential. This journey is not about perfection, but about progress, and every step you take strengthens the foundation of a life lived with purpose and integrity. As we wrap up this journey, let's reflect on what we've uncovered: the power of embracing solitude as a challenge, confronting loneliness with understanding, mastering self-sufficiency, and finding inner peace. We've explored how growth comes from adaptation, how spiritual exploration deepens our lives, and how cultivating contentment transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. So why wait? Start small. Each step brings you closer to a life of fulfillment and abundance. And remember, you don't have to walk this path alone. We're here to accompany and grow together. Living alone isn't about being isolated. It's about creating space to uncover the best version of yourself. As Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Your journey to abundance begins with the next step you take. Make it a step toward your own happiness. You got this. If this message inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need it. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.